The morning I chained off the entrance to my private road, I didn't do it to start a war, though in hindsight, maybe I should have expected one. The sun had barely risen above the tree line, the metal was cold in my hands, and the forest around me seemed strangely quiet. But the moment that padlock clicked shut, something felt different in the air. That gate wasn't just a gate. It was a boundary, and the HOA had crossed it for the last time. People move out to rural land for privacy, space, peace. I bought 20 acres at the end of a long gravel road. My road, specifically because I didn't want to deal with the petty power struggles you find in tightly packed neighborhoods. I built my house by hand. I maintained the road myself, paid for the well, paid for the electrical trenching, and had the property surveyed twice. The plat maps were clear. The road belonged exclusively to me. But the HOA next door didn't care about maps. They cared about control. It started slow. A car here and there. A golf cart or two. I assumed they were just lost, or maybe curious. But then I noticed HOA stickers on windshields and clipboards and hands. They weren't lost. They were snooping, inspecting, evaluating, as if I were part of their community instead of a man who just happened to live nearby. The turning point came one Thursday afternoon. I was splitting logs when a white SUV rolled right down my road and stopped behind me, dust swirling around the bumper. Out stepped Dennis Clark, the HOA president, wearing a starched polo and the self-assured look of a man who believes rules apply to everyone but him. "Afternoon," he said, giving me a polite smile that didn't reach his eyes. "What do you want?" I asked, gripping the axe handle. "We need to discuss your road." "What about it?" He clasped his hands behind his back like he was posing for a real estate brochure. "It's come to the attention of the HOA board that residents have begun using your road as a convenient access lane. Given that, we've determined it now serves a functional role in the community." I blinked. "The community?" "Yes," he said brightly. "So, the HOA is asserting the right to maintain and regulate it." I laughed, out loud. "You're joking." His expression hardened. "The board voted on it." I leaned the axe against my leg. "It's a private road. I own it." "That's the tricky part," he said. "See, usage determines utility. And if it's useful to the community, then you want to claim it." "We want to maintain it," he corrected, as if that made it more reasonable. I stepped closer. "Set one foot on my road with so much as a gardening trowel, and you'll regret it." His smile vanished entirely. "We'll be in touch," he said, retreating to his SUV. It felt like a threat. A week later, a notice appeared taped to my mailbox, HOA roadway compliance order. Pages of bureaucratic nonsense claiming they had jurisdiction. I read it twice, then bought the heaviest chain the hardware store carried. Which brings us back to the gate. I locked it, hung a sign reading private road. Trespassers will be charged, and enjoyed the rare feeling of drawing a line and meaning it. But it didn't take long. The hum of golf carts echoed down the tree line that same afternoon. 3 of them arrived in a perfect little convoy, like they practiced synchronized pettiness. In the first cart sat Dennis. Behind him were Marjorie, head of the aesthetic committee, who looked offended by the mere existence of gravel, and Ron, who always appeared on the verge of writing someone up for breathing wrong. The trio dismounted with all the grace of disgruntled geese and lined up at the gate. "What is the meaning of this?" Dennis demanded. "It's a gate," I answered. "You can't block a community access road." "You mean my road." Marjorie stuck her clipboard through the bars as if issuing a citation. "Sir, this violates HOA Infrastructure Code 4-2. "I'm not in your HOA," I reminded her. Ron chimed in. "But the road is used by residents." "Not legally." Dennis leaned against the gate. "Remove it." "No." He looked like no one had ever said that to him before. "We have authority over roads serving the community." "Then show me the deed." A moment of silence followed. Tense. Beautiful. They didn't have it. Because it didn't exist. Dennis stepped back, cheeks flushed. "We'll revisit this conversation with law enforcement." "Good," I said. "And make sure you ask them this. What happens when an HOA keeps trespassing on private property after being warned?" Their faces twitched. They knew the answer. What they didn't know was that I had already documented everything. Photos, timestamps, letters, witnesses. My lawyer had a folder thick enough to use as a doorstop. They scurried off in a huff. The next morning, engines rumbled. I walked outside to find 3 HOA officers, a contractor with a backhoe, and a sheriff's deputy all gathered at the gate. Dennis waved triumphantly at the deputy. He was obstructing a community road. The deputy examined my deed and frowned. "Sir, this is private property." Dennis sputtered. "Yes, but residents use it." "That doesn't matter," the deputy said firmly. Marjorie stumped forward, pointing at the sign. "This is an abuse of authority." "It's his sign," the deputy replied. For a minute, it seemed like the situation might end there. But Dennis, fueled by some toxic blend of arrogance and panic, grabbed the top of the gate and climbed over it. Marjorie followed. Then Ron. Then the contractor. The deputy shouted, "Stop! That's trespassing." Too late, for feet hit the gravel on my side. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and said loudly, "You are knowingly entering private property after multiple warnings. Are you aware you are trespassing?" Dennis scoffed. "Oh, come on." "No," I said calmly. "This is serious." Because here's the question I've been asking myself for weeks. What do you do when people who think they're untouchable finally step into a place where the law applies to them? The answer is simple. You let them, and then you file the charges. The gate incident should have humbled them, but people like Dennis don't understand humility. They only understand consequences, usually the kind that arrive in envelopes stamped with county seals. And 3 days later, that's exactly what happened. It was just after 9 in the morning when my phone buzzed with an email notification. I wiped my hands on a rag, set down a box of bolts in my workshop, and opened it. Official notice, criminal trespass charges filed. 4 counts. Each count listed with a name. Each supported by video evidence. Each carrying fines, potential court appearances, and a public record. A slow warmth spread through me, not gloating, not spiteful, just relieved. A pressure I hadn't realized I'd been carrying finally eased off my shoulders. For the first time in weeks, my land felt like mine again. Word traveled faster than wildfire. By noon, half the neighborhood had heard that the HOA board, those self-appointed defenders of suburban order, had been hit with criminal charges because they marched onto property they didn't own. The group chats lit up. Screenshots spread everywhere. And apparently, the emergency board meeting that afternoon erupted into total chaos. If Section 1 was a spark, Section 2 was the explosion. I didn't attend the meeting, of course. I wouldn't step foot in their building even if they begged me. But I didn't need to be there. Their voices carried all the way down the road. Anger has a funny way of amplifying volume. "You led us into this. Dennis." "Here's video. Marjorie, what did you expect?" "He filed charges? On us." "You climbed the gate." "It wasn't climbing. It was, well, stepping over. That's still trespassing, you idiot." It was a beautiful soundtrack. I leaned back in a lawn chair beside the fire pit, sipping coffee, listening like it was live entertainment. By evening, a community-wide email arrived, typed hastily, clearly written in panic. The HOA acknowledges that the gravel road on Parcel 118B is privately owned. All residents are instructed to discontinue use effective immediately. Violations may result in legal action. It felt like an admission of defeat. But I wasn't done. Respect isn't won by backing down after a single victory. Respect is earned by making sure the message sticks permanently. So the next morning, I met with my lawyer. We filed a civil lawsuit. Criminal trespass handled the legal side. The civil suit addressed the practical side. Damage to my gate hinge. Interference with peaceful use of my land. Unauthorized access to a private road. Attempted seizure and modification of private property. Costs incurred protecting said property. And once again, the HOA scrambled. They tried to lean on their insurance, but the problem was glaringly simple. Their actions weren't covered. Dennis had explicitly overstepped his authority. The board began distancing themselves from him faster than rats fleeing a sinking ship. One email leaked. Someone forwarded it to me anonymously. Dennis acted independently and without the full authorization of the HOA. We cannot be held responsible for his personal decisions. Translation? He's on his own. That was when things really unraveled. He tried to negotiate. He tried to claim misunderstanding. He tried to say he didn't think the road was truly private. But the documents, the surveys, the deed, they crushed every excuse he attempted to raise. And the video? The one with him swinging a leg over my gate like a rebellious kid sneaking out after curfew? That sealed it. The judge didn't mince words. He ruled that Dennis was personally liable for damages and fees. I heard through a neighbor, one who'd always disliked the HOA's heavy-handed tactics, that Dennis went home from the courthouse looking like a man who aged 10 years in one afternoon. The legal fees piled up. The HOA removed him from his position. He resigned from the board entirely. Then he listed his house for sale. And that's how I knew it was over. Oh, almost over. Because revenge isn't really complete until the person who caused you grief acknowledges out loud that they lost. About a week before his moving truck arrived, Dennis stopped at the end of my driveway. I saw him from the porch and walked over, stopping exactly 1 foot from my property line. He didn't step over it. Not this time. His posture was deflated, shoulders rounded, shirt wrinkled. Not the crisp, arrogant man from before. This version of him looked smaller. "Reela, I came to speak with you," he said. "Then speak." He rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't expect things to go this far. "You climbed my gate," I reminded him, "with a deputy telling you not to." "Yes, I know," he muttered, "and I regret that." I crossed my arms. "You tried to claim property you didn't own. That's not something people forget." He sighed. "I thought the HOA had authority. I thought I was doing what was best for the community. And forcing your authority onto land outside your jurisdiction was part of that." A pause. He didn't answer because we both knew the truth. He hadn't acted for the community. He'd acted because he wasn't used to hearing the word no. "I wish we could have handled this differently," he said, voice low. "I never wanted a legal battle." "You had every chance to back off," I said. "You chose not to." He nodded slowly, eyes on the gravel. "I suppose I did." For a moment, the woods were quiet except for wind rustling through the leaves. And standing there, watching this one smug man crumble into something almost pitiful, I realized something. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure. "You should go," I finally said. He nodded. "Goodbye." And he walked away, staying on the public road until he was out of sight. The next morning, the moving truck arrived. By sunset, Dennis Clark and all his self-appointed authority were gone, leaving behind only a for sale sign and a legacy of HOA members too afraid to overreach again. Life returned to normal after that. No more golf carts creeping down my road. No clipboards at the end of my driveway. No phantom headlights at night. Just quiet. My road was my road again. A few weeks later, the new owner moved into Dennis's old house, a retired electrician named George. Nice guy, friendly, and best of all, allergic to drama. He walked over one afternoon with a six-pack as a peace offering. "I heard you had some trouble with the HOA," he said with a knowing smile. "Used to," I replied. "Not anymore." "Well," George said, handing me a cold bottle, "if you ever need help maintaining that road of yours, just holler. I know when to keep to my side of the property line." I laughed. "You have no idea how refreshing that is to hear." Sometimes revenge is loud. Sometimes it's a battle. Sometimes it's a legal war. But sometimes the best revenge isn't the fall of the person who wronged you. It's the peace you gain once they are gone. And that peace? I earned it.